Good morning, everybody. G'day, Taylor. I
Good morning.
I will I'll good morning to everybody. I'll kick us off. Apologies for my tardiness. Um, Thank you very much, everybody, for joining us this morning. Um, look, on the cusp of the World Council of Credit Unions conference coming up in July, it's sort of a really good opportunity for us to share some of the experiences that one of our MSN members has had in the actual participation on the ground at one of these events. And Taylor was very fortunate to be provided with the opportunity, with thanks to our friends at Cuscal, to attend the WCUC at Stockholm. Correct me if I'm wrong, Taylor.
Yes, it was. Yep.
Last year. So Taylor's very kindly come along this morning with a presentation and some of her own insights around what she experienced at that event, and hopefully some aspects that will help guide your participation for those of you able to join us in July in Sydney, which is the only one of these conferences I ever go to. So, Taylor, you've certainly done well to have been able to be a part of the event in Stockholm. So, Taylor, if you don't mind, I'll hand over to you to introduce yourself and to get us underway.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Tony. Good morning, everyone. So I'm Taylor Harvey. I am the Marketing and Product Manager and Core Banking Administrator at Bank Orange. I've worked here for the past 5 years. Really big thank you to the MSN and to Cuscal, who made my opportunity to attend WOCU in Stockholm last year possible. So I'll just share my screen. Okay, hopefully everyone can see that one now.
Yes,
Yep.
thank you. We can see it.
Lovely, cool. The conference was held in July of last year at Stockholm in Sweden. The theme of the conference was "The Future is Cooperative," and over 2,000 attendees from nearly 60 countries were in attendance at the conference. So one overarching theme was constant throughout the day and couple of days, and that was people helping people. Even though our industry is dealing with rapid technological change, legislative change, regulatory pressures, the core philosophy of the cooperative movement hasn't changed. And while we say we work in finance, we actually work with people. We work with people, their homes, their businesses, their families, and their futures. That perspective framed so many of the discussions throughout the couple of days at the conference. So an overview of WOCU in general. The World Council of Credit Unions, or WOCU, is the global trade association representing credit unions and financial cooperatives internationally. The conference itself brings together thousands of professionals from across the world to share ideas, challenges, and innovations. I think I counted there was over 60 sessions across the 3 days. So there's a lot to take in and unpack at the conference. What stood out to me, though, that while everyone operates under very different regulation and economic environments, the underlying challenges were really quite similar. So globally, there are currently around 74,000 credit unions across 104 countries, serving 411 million members and managing around 3.7 trillion in assets. While credit unions are often seen as independent or local organisations for us here in Australia, we're all part of a significant global financial network, which is very comforting in terms of sharing information and challenges. There were several overarching themes and trends at a global level that were investigated during the conference. First was geopolitical instability, and particularly the ongoing global tensions affecting the economic confidence at the time, specifically in America. Each time I was introduced to an attendee from America, they led the conversation with, "Hi, my name's Sarah, and no, I didn't vote for him." So that was really interesting that they were so aware of the impact that what was happening in their country has on other countries and us at the conference and us as an industry. Second was the key risks, especially around governance, regulation, scams and fraud, and emerging technology and the lens at which they're seen through. Third was digital transformation, with significant focus on AI, mobile banking, and cybersecurity. Fourth was governance, particularly the challenges of attracting skilled directors and maintaining ongoing training for those directors. And finally, financial inclusion, ensuring credit unions continue to serve members who may otherwise be excluded from the financial system or represent an underbanked economy. One phrase repeated frequently throughout the conference was the one thing that is constant is change. Technology continues to evolve, regulation continues to evolve, geopolitical environments continue to shift, but the cooperative model has proven to be remarkably resilient because it's grounded in values and relationships rather than just products. So one of the first sessions I attended was on AML and financial crimes. And so scam-related losses have increased significantly across the world, and globally there has been a 25% increase in scam-related losses. At the same time, regulators are trying to develop frameworks that are flexible enough to operate across multiple jurisdictions. Interestingly, one of the advantages repeatedly highlighted for smaller credit unions is something that we definitely overlook on a day-to-day basis, but we really know our members. So our member banking team can really see if something's out of character for one of their members, especially if they're coming into the branch, and are able to identify those scams or abnormal trends and behaviours a lot quicker than a big bank would be able to. So that local knowledge can be one of the biggest defences that us as a credit union network have against scams and fraud. So one of the next most resonating themes for us was trust, and working in marketing, this was really important for me to bring back to Bank Orange. So trust is not built through marketing campaigns, it's built through relationships, experiences, and shared values. The shift that many organizations are making is moving away from promoting products and interest rates and instead telling the story of who we are and why we exist. Now, that's not exactly new information for most people. That's something that's been a trend for quite some time, but it held a lot more value when it was delivered by a presenter named Maria, who had traveled 35 hours from her home in the Ukraine through active shell fire to present her session. In extreme circumstances, she gave us some statistics and information on her credit union, which was able to shift priorities from marketing products and services to literally just helping people be safe. They started advertising, we can help you relocate, we can help you get out of the country, we can help you with visas, we can, help you find your family during this time. And that was hugely emotional in that session, and obviously meant a lot to their people and their members at the time. So for credit unions, our identity is a genuine strategic advantage, not just the history of us. So history is not just the past, it is a strategic asset. Some organisations are using that heritage in the same way as Maria did, and promoting their history through their tourism and their identity. Sweden itself, being the host for the conference, it's really interesting. They don't have any credit unions. But what was a really nice tie-in for the conference is that the venues that were chosen, and this image is of the Vasa warship, which is a 330-year-old warship, that was brought back up from the ocean just near Sweden there. It really helps bring that messaging to life, and the tourism of Stockholm itself, you've got the new part and the old part. It brings together everything we try and do. That history isn't just nostalgia, it's differentiation for all of us. So two major areas that were focused on by the international regulators in attendance at the conference were governance and cybersecurity. Some countries are exploring shared ICT services to improve efficiency across the sector. And another interesting example was in South Korea, where live operational data is automatically provided to their regulators every 20 minutes through a centralized system. So they have no separate manual APRA reporting, no submissions to the ACCC. All of the data is live and connected to their core banking systems. The most important message from this session was that regulation should not be treated just as a tick box exercise, but we should ask what problem is regulation actually trying to solve for our members, and change the approach in which we take to regulation. Cybersecurity is one of the most serious discussions and probably one of the most different sessions that were available at the conference. So one speaker framed it really, really clearly that digital trust is the foundation of our modern financial services. The more we have members going towards digital tools, internet banking, mobile apps, application forms online, the more information they're providing, the more trust they need to have that we're doing the right thing with their data. When cyber incidents occur, the impact is not just financial. It's not just about us having to enact our BCP scenarios. It's a huge impact on our members. So think about the impact that not having access to money would have on your members or would have on you personally. It can sometimes mean that someone can't put the deposit down on their dream home. It could mean they miss out on registering for university to start their dream future. It could mean someone can't purchase their wedding dress, or right down to not being able to provide food for their family on the table that night. The important thing here is that cyber risk is not just an IT issue either, it is a people issue. So in Kenya, Kenyan credit unions experience $1.3 million in cyber threats every minute that is fought against. Cybersecurity is not a technology problem, it's a people problem. Just before the conference, there was a cyber attack which occurred in Brazil. And this cyber attack was not caused by a hack, a brute force attack, anything like that. It was $140 million in losses. And an employee was approached and offered $920 for their login credentials. And they were approached at a bar. That employee facilitated access to the attackers to all of the secure systems across a number of access points. It touched multiple credit unions, multiple members, multiple suppliers. So technology may have enabled the breach, but people drove it. It was social engineering that caused that employee to give up their login credentials. So it's a really good reminder that organizational culture, awareness, and training are just as important in investing in technology and cyber resilience. One of the most valuable parts of the conference, and if you're attending WOCU this year and if they have this session, I highly recommend attending. For the smaller credit unions, there was a small group. For the larger credit unions, there was a larger group, and it was a networking event. So it was an hour and a half where we connected with other credit unions across the world. So Bank Orange fell into the small credit union network. So we discussed our wins, our challenges, our similarities, and our differences. So we had attendees from Jamaica, Ireland, myself, and a man also from the US who was there. So in Jamaica, membership restrictions mean that many mergers are driven by expansion into industry. If a credit union currently services government employees and sees an opportunity in the market where they want to delve into the car manufacturing employment sector, they seek a merger with a credit union who services those members. They can't just go and direct their advertising and expand their network. They are locked into their industry-specific areas. In Ireland, credit unions don't offer residential mortgages, so they are limited to deposits and personal loans, with active advocacy for change driven by their regulators for this. So their regulator was in attendance at the conference and was on the panel of one of the sessions pushing for that change to assist with Ireland's economy at the moment. In Australia, we spoke about the impact of the RBA rate cycles on lending and member behaviour, because it was really interesting how other countries don't necessarily have fixed rates. All of their rates are variable, but their variable rates are only reviewed and potentially changed once per year. They don't have regular updates, regular changes that are made, and even if their central bank changes rates, they don't necessarily pass that along either. Governance challenges was another consistent challenge globally. Many credit unions are struggling with attracting skilled directors, ongoing training requirements, and balancing the operational oversight with regulatory expectations. So, one comment that really stuck on this topic was that training is expensive, but ignorance costs more. And I think that's true across everyone's role in a credit union and industry. Good governance ultimately comes back to doing the right thing for members, regardless of legislation. So, not because you have to, but because you need to. But from a member's perspective, it asks the question, where does the trust actually sit? Is it with the member banking team that is serving the members face to face or over the phone? Is it with management who are implementing change and driving business? Or is it with the directors at a governance level? Digital when you want it and human when you need it. Members increasingly expect digital convenience, especially in our younger demographics. But when things go wrong or decisions matter the most, people still want that human connection. And that's where credit unions are uniquely positioned to provide both through our branch networks, through our call centres, and then through the digital technology that we also invest in as well. But when it comes to technology, are we investing in technology aligned with our strategies, or are we just doing it because everybody else is? I can't get through a day at the moment without hearing about, talking about, or using AI, and that was a really good example that was given. But before investing heavily in innovations like AI, institutions need to ensure that their core systems are sound, that governance is strong, and technology is solving a real problem. Technology is a tool, not a strategy. So across the entire conference, the phrase "the future is cooperative" kept coming back. You'll notice that throughout my presentation, more questions were asked than were answered, and that was one of the key differences between WOCU and other conferences that I've previously attended. And it gives you a real opportunity to walk away with your own individual thoughts, questions, and start thinking about the answers for your organisation or for your country. And that really allows you to make it your own. Change will continue and technology will keep evolving. Regulation will evolve as the technology evolves and global conditions will change. But the things that remain constant are trust, relationships, value, and people-first service. So we need to ensure that our foundations, our systems, our governance and culture are strong. We have to treat regulation as purpose-driven, not procedural. Invest in people because behaviour drives our cybersecurity, our governance, and our trust. And we need to tell our story. Our cooperative identity is a huge competitive advantage. The future of financial services will not be purely digital. It will not be purely regulatory, and it will not be purely technological. The future is cooperative. Thank you.
Taylor, thank you very much. Look, that is one of the most interesting sessions I've sat through. And as you know, as the MSM manager, I sit through a lot. I just was writing lots of notes, and I've just learned an awful lot in that time. I'd love to invite everybody now to ask any questions or make any observations that they might have from Taylor's presentation. Dave Cadden has beat me to the post with a question specific to: did you implement changes at Bank Orange as a result of attending the conference?
I've definitely changed my approach to how I implement change. So this time of year, we're obviously looking at strategy discussions and long-term plans for Bank Orange. So what it's been able to help me do, sitting especially in the core banking side of things, have a look at the people first side of our technology and what do members want? What are they using? What is out there that we can provide to them that is a value first, that might not be for compliance or for regulation, that's actually just a really good member initiative to have, and work that in with our team and say, okay, so if this is a new item we can give to our members, is there an operational efficiency that we gain from it as well? And just changing that focus from, we've got to get open banking done, we've got to get AML done, and really thinking about what are the benefits that we can give back to everybody while doing these types of things as well.
Taylor, thanks for that. I might jump in with a question as well. the introduction to the question is a COBA colleague once attended the WCUC around the time that our sector was beginning its journey transitioning away from credit union to mutual bank. I don't know if I can use this phrase on a recorded webinar, but I'm going to have a go. In Tony Abbott style, he was almost shirt-fronted by the other delegates when he began explaining what was the Customer and Banking Association, not credit union. Was there any sense of that from a brand perspective? Were all your contemporaries all credit union people, or has our philosophy extended?
Uh, no, it's very much still the same. So the main phrase we heard was cooperative. That
Right.
was, I think, the umbrella term used to cover the building societies, mutuals, credit unions, banks. It was really obvious whenever there was presentations done by Australians, the term customer and bank was at the forefront and was really explained. And I did have people when I met them and I said, oh, I work at Bank Orange. They were like, oh, you work for a bank? So it was really a good opportunity to explain how our customer and banking works and the umbrella that we have under that here. But yeah, we were the anomaly definitely in Australia.
Okay. The other thing I wanted to touch upon was you were talking about digital trust, and one of the conversations I have had quite a bit is the kind of member relationship dynamic that got us all here, which largely was in person and face to face, and the idea that there is some risk associated with that now as we progressively move into the digital space. Was that kind of conundrum part of that conversation, or what did people generally have to say about that, if anything?
I think a lot of the focus was on building the digital trust using the same foundations that we use to do with members face to face. So, if you break trust down a little bit further, in that we do the things we say we're going to do. So, if we tell you we're going to keep your data secure, we keep your data secure. And often, a lot of people, that's a really easy sentence to say, and members don't necessarily know what goes into doing that for them. But this is where, I mean, definitely across our project team, when we implement something, we're really focusing on communicating that with members and saying, hey, there might be an outage next Saturday night because we're doing some upgrades, but that's to keep your information safe. And it's to change that way of communicating and be a bit more transparent. Whereas before, I think it was really easy to try to not share that for the fear of the outage causing the issue. In terms of the branch trust and usage, in America, they've opened way more branches. They are still in their boom for that. They have people coming into branches all the time. They have got such distrust for their really big financial organizations where their branches are doing the opposite. They are not closing, they're not going anywhere, they're opening quite a few more. And that's all embedded in their strategy to get physical locations to more people. So it was really interesting the difference in that between what's happening here and what's happening in other countries. Places like Brazil, it's also a little bit different because they've got such a huge underbanked or non-banked economy. So one of the risk topics that came up for them was how do they manage that with trying to get more members on board who might not have identity documents, they might not have any proof of who they are, any proof of where their money has come from. And when they talk about risk, they were talking about, well, yes, it's a risk for that mutual taking them on in that one example, but you're actually reducing the risk across the economy because the less people that are without official forms of bank accounts and documents, it helps to shrink that
Hmm.
economy. And so it was a really interesting concept to look at, okay, are you focusing too much on the really little individual picture versus the bigger goal at the end of it?
Hmm. So thank you. That's just so could go on all day. Actually, there's another comment specific, a couple more actually. One's about the the comment was, are they talking about closing branches generally, which I know you've sort of just spoken to. So fair to say that is less a conversation piece on the world stage.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Definitely still the same challenges in getting more members and making sure that members know the difference between a bank and a cooperative. And that education piece was absolutely on par with what we do here to try and show the difference. But the conversation around branches was much, much different.
That's really interesting. The next comment slash question is: the jurisdiction that had regulators directly assessing their data and therefore less reporting, did they feel that intrusion was a net benefit to the mutual?
Oh, absolutely. They celebrated it. They thought it was the best thing. And the whole crowd went, ooh. It was I think they don't have unfettered access to absolutely everything in their core banking system. I would say that there are data templates set up. They didn't go too much into the detail of it, but it was definitely a positive, a positive. And I'm pretty sure it was South Korea that was
Okay. Yeah, I
happening.
think you mentioned that
Yeah.
as you were talking through the session. Folks, please keep your questions and your observations coming. One of the things, it's not a question, but one of the things that that really impacted me was your story about the Ukrainian presenter.
Yeah.
Back in the, I won't give too much detail, but back in the early 2000s, I think we had a similar situation with a chap from Afghanistan who left the country in similarly difficult circumstances. And at the time, outside of all of the work that we all do and the reasons why and where we're focused, in that one moment of time, our sector didn't think twice and just supported this guy and helped him settle, and his whole family's now in Australia. Hearing that Ukraine example, yeah, just it's one of the reasons why I wanted to do this today.
Absolutely. And at the time and in the session, it was so powerful. And I don't think she was even going to talk about it. It wasn't in her slideshow about her journey to get there, but the person who introduced her went into that for us. And so then for her to be able to speak about her credit union the way she did and was so proud of how they just pivoted and were able to take that an awful situation that I think a lot of us just can't really comprehend being put in that position to just having to sit there and say, what can we do to help people? That's it. That's all we are currently here to do. We're literally trying to help people survive. So that was so powerful.
Um, just I'll say just please keep your questions, comments coming, and we'll wrap up shortly. I was really interested in the Small Credit Union Network, the SCUN, one of the better acronyms I've seen in my time for small groupings of smaller mutual banks. What else would you have? I'm really hoping that they do that this year, and I will be a keen attendee. What else would you have to say about the value from that?
Just the open discussion. So pretty much the presenter just asked one question. They said each person share a challenge that you guys have in your roles. And that was the only prompting we needed. We then launched into a whole conversation that went on so many tangents, and we had to actually be told to stop talking. And just the things like open banking was a really big one that was discussed quite a bit across the conference. And the UK have obviously had their version of it for quite some time, and they love it. They think it's amazing, and it's one of the best things that ever happened. But knowing that they don't do, and this was Ireland specifically, we were talking to about this, knowing they don't do mortgages and it's just personal loans and deposits, we've been sort of, I don't know, I've been comparing the two and saying, well, if they can do it, why can't we? What's the sticking point for us? And it's small details like that that help you understand the
Mm.
similarities end at some point, and we can't always use examples so specifically to ourselves as well. The overarching message is great and what it's there for and how it operates. And they were just really casual about it. They're like, oh yeah, our members can just go online and press a button, and if they switch, the bank they're switching from pays the fee and it's done. And that was it in a nutshell. And I was like, I can't believe how calm you are talking about this. And it was
Yeah,
also really nice too, meeting people like at lunch and in those sessions. Everyone brought things. So I've got a lovely notepad from Jamaica and a pin from the Island ladies, and everyone
mm,
was so excited, and they were all branded from their credit unions. So
nice.
they were so proud and so excited to share their story and share their journey and why they were there, and what they were doing, that they really wanted to, give everybody a little taste of what it was. I also got absolutely drilled about what Australia would be like. So they were a little bit worried when, because it got announced at the conference that this year's
Oh,
was
right.
in Sydney. Yeah, so they were like, "Oh, how long did it take you to get here?" And so when I said it took me 36 hours, they weren't real keen to then come to Australia.
Mm.
But I said it would be absolutely worth it for them. And I said it will be winter though. So they were expecting it to be 40, 45-degree heat. But I said, no, said it'll be beautiful weather, but it's not the middle of summer. So
Well, hopefully you got the opportunity to talk up the scare factor on reptiles and
yeah.
sharks and things like that. That's always fun with other
Yeah.
people from other countries. Look, Taylor, I don't see any more questions in the chat at this stage. So on behalf of everybody listening in, we had a good audience this morning. On behalf of everybody, thank you very much for the session that you've just delivered. Again, really informative, but more importantly for me, really interesting. I hung on every word, and I just want to thank you very much on behalf of everybody for giving your time, and hopefully you'll be at the event in July as well in Sydney, and hopefully a lot of people in the chat now will have the chance to be part of that. For me personally, I think there's a lot of opportunity for how our thinking might be recalibrated and adjusted based on what our international colleagues are getting up to. And I'm just seeing comments coming up in the chat now. Thank you so much. Great presentation. So everybody sharing the love. So on that note, thank you. Thanks everybody for attending, and we'll see you again for our next webinar, and enjoy the rest of your week, everybody. Cheerio.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.